Hi, this is Nick from Brookway Investments. We're here today in the beautiful sunshine of Southern California. And what I want to talk about today is this fantastic 1946 Ford Mercury 8 convertible, which we've just acquired. And this is a California car from day one. It was manufactured down at Long Beach in late 1945, early 46. And it's been in the Los Angeles, San Bernardino County area all of its life. Hence, what we've got here today is a true survivor of a 1946 convertible Mercury. This is a really rare find. Really hard to find cars in this condition that haven't completely decayed. We're talking 60, 70-year-old antique motor vehicles here. So I'm just going to stand back and let the camera just pan around a little bit and you can take in the wonderful style of this car. Okay, so what we've got is typical 1940s, late 1940s style in here. This is a 1946 model, which was actually pretty much identical to the 1942 example of this Mercury. But of course, in February 1942, the United States came into World War II as part of the Allied effort, and car production was ceased as all the motor manufacturers began manufacturing munitions to help the war effort. When car production resumed in 1946, pretty much the 1942 designs, which was a fairly new design for Mercury, this is actually a second generation Mercury. The 46 design was pretty much 42. There was only a slight change on the front end of the car, effectively the grille area. So this is a second generation Mercury. The first generation came out in 1939. And the whole idea was a project that was conceived by Henry Ford's son, Edsel Ford. And Ford were making good quality cars for the masses. And also there was a high quality car at the higher end of the product range, which was effectively the Lincoln product. Edsel Ford thought that there was room for a mid-market product. And hence the idea of Mercury was born. So what we've got effectively is a car that is very, very similar in style to an equivalent year Ford, but it's a more expensive version of that Ford. So if you couldn't afford a Lincoln, what you could have was an upmarket Ford, which was badged as a Mercury. There are actually a lot of differences. I'll go into some of those differences in a moment, but let's just take in a little bit more of the style of the car. This, for me, jumps out at you. We've got this very, very high belt line. It's a really deep bodied car. And if I climb inside it, just see how I fit inside the car. And then you get a good idea as to the overall proportions of the car. We've got a really long hood, we've got a deep body. This was a really sporty, muscly looking car in the late 1940s. Fantastic style, a real style to die for. Okay, now we've got an idea of proportion. Let's look at some of the external details on the car. First of all, if we think about the name Mercury, Ford were looking for something kind of exotic to a way of marketing this mid-range product. So the name Mercury was chosen. So much more exotic than just Ford. So Mercury, we've got various emblems and features on the car that tell you what it is. If we close in on the hubcap here, we can see this winged helmet design. This, of course, depicts the helmet of the Roman mythological god Mercury. Now Mercury, a lot of people consider Mercury to be the god of speed, but Mercury was also the god of commerce and success and financial organization. So immediately from the name we think of, oh, a guy who drives a Mercury, he's got commercial and financial success, he's got financial acumen, therefore he's not driving a standard Ford, he's driving a Mercury. So the Mercury is much more detailed than the Ford. We've got these fancy hubcaps. We've got these double trim length, double trims on the side of the car. The equivalent 1946 Ford convertible only had one stainless steel body trim through the centre. So the Mercury, straight away, it hits you in the face. This is a classy car. This is an upmarket car. If we sweep around the back of the car, you've got these beautiful tail lights that run from the trim right across the boot lid there. Mercury 8 tells you exactly what it is. We've got twin exhaust pipes there, tell you it's a V8 engine. This is a real quality car from the late 40s. Of course, we're talking about the immediate post-war period here. So this is a glamorous car for its time. We've got white wall tyres. We've got Appleton directional spot lamps. We've got beautiful rim embellishers around the hubcaps there. If we look at the finish of the door handles, it's very Art Deco in terms of detail. If I open the door here, you can see how well appointed this car is. This isn't a basic Ford where you'd get a standard tin dashboard. This is a Mercury. We've got a type of French polishing on the dashboard here. We've got Bakelite mounted instrumentation. We've got a self-seeking radio here. I mean, this is a really detailed, attractive, expensive looking car for 1946. Some great features here. We've got an optional heater for passenger and driver, and we've also, this being a convertible model, we've also got a power hood, power top on this car. It's hydraulically operated by a button on the left hand side of the steering column, so you can raise and lower the top with complete simplicity. This is a well-optioned car. Okay, right, we've done some of the detail in the car, we've talked about some of the history of the car. Let's get it fired up and see what it's all about. Okay, let's get the key in the ignition, steering lock off, flick switch for the ignition power, press the button, and there we go. Now listen, that's what a flathead Ford V8 should sound like. Well, a Mercury V8. You can just tell this car wants to go. It's a hot car. It sounds like a hot car. I'll just pop the hood and we can take a look underneath and you can see what she looks like when she's running. Engine is just super sweet in this car. There ain't no timing chain noise on it. We've got no back pressure, we've got no blow-by. Just be careful with the cord doesn't fall into the fan there. Engine just purrs like a kitten. It's really sweet and it's responsive as well. Water pumps are nice and dry. We've got no oil leaks under here. This is great. Okay, we'll just close this hood now and come around here and just close the latch first of all. Make sure that's closed. Right. So if we want to get in, I shall come around and open the door for you. And we'll just see what this car feels like, what it sounds like on the road. And I can tell you it's an absolute thrill to drive. Remember, we're talking about the mid to late 1940s here. This was an exciting car of that time. So we've got a standard 3-speed manual transmission here. Pull it back, drop it into first gear like that, knock the parking brake off. Listen, that engine. And here we go. In this car, the transmission is just fingertip control. It's beautiful. Steering's nice and precise. Nice little bit of feel there. We've got tons of power under the right foot, and the brakes are fantastic. People say old brakes on cars are no good, those drum brakes, but the brakes just feel super in this. It's very neutral, and first gear again. Listen, that. And away we go. Easy car to drive. Speedometer's working correctly. We've got an auxiliary temperature gauge under the dash here, all working great. Superb oil pressure on this car. One thing you've really got to look out for on these flathead Ford and Mercury V8s is low oil pressure. And this car holds super. Fuel gauge is working fine. What a comfortable car to drive. And a super commanding position. Left arm out of the window, fingertip control at the steering wheel. Just an absolute thrill to drive. And of course, of Southern California sunshine to boot. Wow. This is what classic motoring's all about. So we'll not go too far here because it's testing the limits of the camera crew. First time we've done this, by the way, and it's been great fun. Let's try the turn signals there. Transmission is just like silk. It's like cotton butter. Absolutely beautiful. And of course, this is a classic car that you can use in everyday traffic because it will keep up with modern traffic speeds. You've got so much power here. It's only 100 horsepower officially, but it feels good on the road. You don't feel underpowered at all. The car just wants to go. Listen, that motor. Clutch is great, no slip, no judder on the clutch, steering's precise. Wow, just doesn't get any better than this. Don't forget folks, we're talking 1946 here. Just thinking somewhere we can spin around up here. It'll probably become boring for the viewers after a while, but I can just sit behind the wheel of this car all day. This engine holds really good temperature as well. Something which is a huge factor with an old car, particularly in a climate like Southern California. Back in the UK we don't worry about that so much because the air temperature is so cold, but over here it's a major factor. But this car just runs and does everything it's supposed to do. It's an absolute pleasure to drive. So I think we'll hold on, wait for the lights to change. So comfortable just sat here. Much more pleasurable than any modern car. I've had plenty of modern convertibles, but this is just a thrill. Here we go, second gear, smooth as silk. Turn signals on. We'll go for first gear. Okay, we'll do a California roll and stop there. Second gear pull away, smooth as silk. Oil pressure is still breaking 30 pounds per square inch there. Super healthy. Car's well up to running temperature, nice and hot. Just does everything it's supposed to do. Listen to that engine. charging nicely. Oil pressure still just busting 30 pound there. Everything's good. Takes a lot of work to get a car from this period to drive as good as this. You know, I wish they all drove as good as this, but this car's been really well maintained over the years, and obviously whatever it's needed, it's had. Hence the result we've got is what we have, what you're witnessing here today. Just something that's an absolute pleasure to drive. I don't know how the sound's reproducing, but I can listen to that V8 rumble all day long. Okay folks, well that's it, we're back to base now.